So, hello, man. Hello, Mgtows. Just got back in my seat. Dougie wanted something, so I had to run there for a minute.
Hello, man.
Let's wait for my sound check. That sounds like a good sound check.
Just got back in my seat. Dougie wanted.
Okay. Today in Mgtow. Hello, Mgtows. Hello, men. Hello, whoever shows up. Go your own way. Go your own way. All your sins are forgiven from the past. Move on with that shit. And hello, whoever's going to show up. Today we're going to take a look at, it's kind of funny. We see this every year come out. We see the war on Christmas, and we have this traditional argument between the traditionalists and I don't know what you call the anti Christmas people that just don't want Christmas. It often seems, but what we get this time of year is we get that reinterpretation of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and how I think Huffington Post does this every year, and somehow this year it was bigger than usual. It took on a light of its own this year because of all the gender dynamics that's going around, and tension. Then gender dynamics tensions, and that just usually means that men are upset about gynocentrism. Men are upset about the way things are going, and then we look at we always get the anti-argument. Well, look how misogynistic Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is and everything. And I was like, well, that's not really true, because if you take a look at Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the 1964 classic, and the other one from 2004, you'll see some similarities to what we're saying, and you see a lot of things. The interpretation is open to a lot of things too. You can interpret things the way you want to interpret things. And then I did a classic. There was a classic example of this when somebody said, "Hey, look at Rudolph the Red. It's a classic tale of pain and human drama. The whole story is about the south side of Cleveland, and it's code words everywhere. Snow is crack, and there's a snowman, and Hermie is a dentist, and he's ruled over by this foreman elf that whips him and wants him to make toys. So of course he's going to leave his designation, but he falls into crack with Rudolph and Cornelius, and they go on this adventure, and they meet the abominable snowman. The abominable snow, more code words for crack addiction or methamphetamine addiction, and that. And you can take all these things and you can weave them into the story any way you want. And at the end, there's some they find this Isle of Misfits toys where they all feel comfortable now because they're misfits too, and it's like rehabilitation and action. It's like, oh, we can all band together and have a group meeting here, and they'll do group AA meetings, and out of this thing comes this Moonraker god, and the Moonraker god is the counselor, and the counselor and Moonraker god is the same thing, and he's like, oh, place is not for you, Rudolph. It's just not for you because you're a real boy, and these are for homeless dads here. And they go, oh man, we can weave in any patriarchal or matriarchal scheme we want into this, but when we really look at what's going on in the thing, and I like to look at what's going on really, in the evidence is that Rudolph is Donner's illegitimate child. He has a nose that doesn't match, or color and nose that doesn't match the mother or the father, and Santa Claus at that time shames him into like doing things, and then it's the classic shaming that goes around with this that we talk about on Rudolph's birth or something like that. There was this part that Donner notes that it's Rudolph's mom, and when she says we should feel this on the day of his birth, and then Rudolph is like, oh wait, his nose glows, and it's like Donner is all shamed, and his red nose is like the scarlet letter of an illegitimate child of a bastard born of this unclean birth, you could draw this into a Mgtow thing too, and Donner's child is, I love that line when Santa is angry at Donner and notes that him keeping him in the thing is a shame that he's shamed, and he's overlooking the imperfections of this beautiful child, and then the whole thing just kind of goes on, and Rudolph leaves with the two other misfits for on this adventure of a lifetime, and ends up meeting what was that snowman, the abominable snowman, which they think they give a nickname to after they pull his tooth because he has no health care, and it's the classic example of it's the same old war on. It's not the war on. It's not the war on Christmas, and you see these traditional parties pulling this, and you see the other far left parties, and this is why I'm a centrist, because I could just laugh and look at this at a point of view that this point of view from alternate point of view. I get the story from the feminist point of view, and I get the story from the liberal point of view, and I get the conservative. I watch Tucker and them argue it out that, oh no, it's just a cute little Christmas story about Jesus, and King Moonraker is this they always portray the king as this lion figure, like the Lion King, and the Christians love this theme where the lion and the what is that, something in the wardrobe, when they walk into the wardrobe into the movie, and it's a Christian film where the lion rules over. They love that, and the description of the lion as God, and he comes down and he's ruling over this misfit island, which is, some people go, well, that's just crack alley. and it becomes a ridiculous argument about intersectionality and where you see intersectional things. This is intersectional with this, and the snow is representative of snow and crack and drug abuse and this broken family. And then the Hollywood comes back later on, and later on they made a remake, and let me see where this is. I got it written down when it was made, and okay, the animated special was produced by Rankin and Bass, and the Good Times Entertainment of Rudolph. And then first of all, Donner is the mother, and she is just referred to as Mrs. Donner, and that's where the girls start going, oh, Mrs. Donner, and it's the Good Times reality. And then it comes out later on with the Good Times retelling story of the father is Blitzen and the mother is Mitzi, and that's just funny, the Blitzen and Mitzi, because everybody knew Blitzen was the father to begin with in the first one, and then Mitzi was just a stripper prostitute name for Mrs. Donner, and she's a single mom, and Donner Blitzen, he's just hanging around. He's the PUA, and Donner's nowhere in sight in that one. So the story unfolds, and it gives a little different. And I just laugh when I see these things, because logical people just you go to pragmatism and go, well, what are they really saying there when they do these things? And it gets all really hugely. It gets all hugely twisted in the minds of. But if a Mgtow would watch this, he would go, yeah, it's clear that it's Donner's illegitimate child, and the subtext is not only about religious intolerance and puritanism, it's also about gender bias, and it's also, Mitzi always gets the pass. She doesn't have to look at her infidelities and that, and then that's the Hollywood narrative that gets pushed on men. Bad dad, bad dads, and we'll just change the dad out when we think it came a little too risky close to dad's shame being felt, and all these people may notice the shame, because we didn't talk about shame back in 1964. Shame was a badge of honor back then. If you were ashamed, you had to do something about it. Man up, hence the man up lines, and stuff like that. But Donner never really manned up. He just kind of faded away into being shamed about his son. And Santa Claus was like, oh man, you're just not even in my team no more. And then because everybody knows the hidden hidden things behind that. But it's always been a war on fathers, and it'll become a more war on fathers as it goes on. And it was the 2008 or 2016 version of this should be really interesting. Where, I watched the other day the 2016 version of what was it? The other snow program up there, and I started watching it. The Grinch That Stole Christmas, and then automatically they put in the Grinch, because he was the single guy that lived up. The Grinch, a single guy lives up there. He's kind of he's got some quirky things, but he's not a bad guy. He's not a good guy, and he's just living up on a mountain, outcast and segregated from the community. Because single guys are segregated from the community. Now down in the community, we have the little whatever they are, whatever they call them now in the 2018 version of this was the single mom raising a single kid, no dad in sight, and it's a war on fathers. And the Grinch That Stole Christmas, the 2018 one, is just a whole bunch of matriarchal wants and needs, and Christmas, and the little girl loses the letter, and it goes, and she discovers the Grinch, but he's a single guy living up. Now this draws really close to hey, what you doing with that little girl, you pervert? And so, but it's the Hollywood twist on, and we've seen it: bad dad, good mom. She can do anything she wants, and she can be a strong single baby mama. And then 2016's, woo, I still remember saying that from, she's a strong single baby mom in the 90s. Ooh, we used to say that. And now it's 2016, and I feel old about this shit. The Mgtow That Stole. Yeah, we just got to get together and make an animated or one of those little mover action single snap thing where you make our own Christmas, the Mgtow That Stole Christmas, because that's what the Grinch was. He was a single guy. He was like, had a dog, and he lived alone. He was a neck bearded, that's the portrayal of that stuff. And then we see this play out in modern media, and we see this play out in the conservative branches, and then they're calling and they both call the single guys the same thing. We're all neck bearded weirdos. You got to get married, man, and get into it, and get down there and start suffering like the rest of us, or you're not right. And both parties are retarded about this, because they both use the same lingo on us and the same kind of narratives, because they're not really. We gave them the narratives. We said, okay, if you're going to call us these things, this is what we'll be for you. We're losers that live in our mom's bases. We're neck-bearded little trolls behind the keyboard warriors. We're all 90 pounds, and we live in our mom's basement. Hey, you go, just run with that. And nothing could be, so far from the truth. Most of the guys I meet are really respectable. We have morals, we have ethics. There's things we're unwilling to do. It's not about what you're willing to do in Mgtow, it's what you're unwilling to do. I'm not going to take no baby mama that's been, passed around for 30 years, and I don't want to do certain things. This is my Cornelius Yukon, since it's like, and he goes, no gold on that. What was he saying? No gold on that. He's looking for gold in snow with a pickaxe. He's like, and he licks it. And he's like, no gold on that. It's like, that didn't make no sense. And even as a kid, I was looking at that going, man, that's really weird. And so these things, they could take them a long way, and we see them do that with Sleeping Beauty and King Lancelot and everything. And if you ever really read the first King Arthur, it was a horrible tale of a cheating woman that caused all kinds of all kinds of white knighting and Lancelot and I can't remember what they call it. I used the French name for the original one. And if you ever read that, you're like, oh, this is horrible. And it is just the horrible ending right down to the very last horrible story about men being cucked and raising other people's babies. And all this while, there's a sweet, innocent woman on this. And she has no sexual complicity at all in this. She could spread her legs to anybody. And it didn't no matter. They were going to make him the hero as long as he got in that split V. He was the hero. And that's what Lancelot was. Lancelot had no special abilities. He was just a friend that took advantage of a friend's kindness. And yeah, La Morte d'Arthur. Thanks you, Train, for that. I was thinking about that earlier, La Morte d'Arthur. And it's just, yeah, it's a horrible story right down to the last horrible book. And us men have to sit there and we go through school. And I remember going through school and just being like ashamed, like thinking, and you weren't allowed to say it. You remember that moment, guys, when the teacher was explaining El Morte d'Arthur, and you were thinking, every one of us were probably thinking the same thing. Why was that woman screwing around on her boyfriend? And you weren't allowed to raise your hand and go, hey, teach, there's a little bit of unethics going on in here. She doesn't have no ethics. She doesn't have no morals. But girls are allowed not to have no ethics and no morals. That's the way it is, boys. And shut your mouth. We'll put you on Prozac if you say it. That's what the feeling I got when I was sitting there in school. I remember that feeling. It was horrible. It was horrible. And all these books and all these tales, and you get super saturated with the shit from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, which is just, man, that can't be his kid. That's the first thing that popped in my mind as a child. It's like, Donner, that's not your kid. It's got a genetic defect that doesn't match the mom and the dad. That's what we learned in 8th grade biology. And then you're often asked to just take the gynocentric, and don't ask about Mitzi. Don't ask about Mrs. Donner, which really didn't have a name. Why didn't she have a freaking name? They could have gave her a perfectly good stripper name like Candy. It's like Candy Donner. Yeah, Candy Cane Donner. And then everybody go, oh, they named her a stripper, but that would have been real Christmassy. Candy Cane or Candy. And no, they couldn't have done that. Hey, Doug's is going nuts now since I'm neglecting him. I had him in for 15 minutes, and he's already like, yeah, I want to go back outside. You're just going to have to wait now, buddy. I got a couple minutes more to go in this. So boys, from the time they're young, they get saturated, and you pick up the news, and you get the Huffington Post. Every year they do this too. Every year they do an analyst of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, or an analyst of some Christmas like thing that was written in the 60s, and go, misogyny, look, the misogyny, and look how they treat these, and it's full of racism, and those aisles of misfit toys were surely all the racist kids that live live in crack alley and that stuff, and they're forced to live there because the white man and all this racism. And then you can go a lot of different ways with that. And you can make your Mgtow theme with that too. That's my thing. And I said, well, yeah, I've seen people make all kinds of themes to that, but we have to live to this at men. And we see this kind of undergoing gynocentric truth that's underlying in this. And nobody wants to talk about that because of secrets. Hush, hush, secrets are kept. The secrets are as only good as they're kept, Hush, we can't tell those secrets about the girls. Hush, hush, better kept. Yeah, that's what Mgtows are asked to do every single day of their life. And I guess that's the point of my rant today was Mgtows are asked to, keep these secrets, and secrets are only as good as they're kept. And And that's, and still men have to ignore these things. It's not your baby. You know, divorce is unfair, but don't say it. You know, mothers are responsible for opening their legs. That split V, that's what gets us in trouble. There's parasitism in this. We're not allowed to say these things. Shh. Secrets are as only good as they're kept. And they wonder why we're just like, oh, we're like rageful. You know, like, stop it. Just for 1 minute. Just for 1 minute. I'd like to wake up one morning and didn't have to see all the gynocentrism just slathered all over everything I look at. And they wonder why we're rageful. I mean, Jesus. I'm drinking my coffee. I was kind of really disappointed, and I ordered 8 ounces of Blue Mountain from the west side of the mountain on Jamaica, and it was $24 for 8 ounces of this stuff. And I was like, I'm gonna need to learn more about this coffee, because sometimes I order it and it's everything as expected, and then sometimes I order it and it's really like I could have got the same thing with Colombian or 8 o'clock coffee from Kmart. And she was. Did you fall in love in kindergarten? I can't remember if I had any crushes on girls in kindergarten. No, I don't think I had any thoughts about that. Hey, Trav, they wonder why we're rageful as they go around and poking at the bear. Yeah, they poke at the bear all the time, and it never seems to be a break for men. And that's all around Christmas. Especially around Christmas, and we should have like a "Don't Poke the Bear" holiday from Thanksgiving to Christmas for men. Just don't poke at us, and don't call us bad dads, and don't throw all these gynocentric things. And we'll just tell the truth. And women are responsible for themselves, really. And there's no way a man can have a child. Let's just do truth time. But it's supposed to be the most truthful, honest time of the year. And the Christians and those cuck-servatives, I call them, and the far right, and those guys, they're all for that Jesus stuff and everything, and they always want to introduce Jesus into everything. And Jesus will get you, man. And their best buddy is Jesus, and he's going to get me somehow. And they're all into that, but they're not really into the truth. And let's just calm down for a little bit here, and we'll have no more shaming of men holiday between Thanksgiving and December. And let's see what that does for and I'll be curious to see if you can measure that thing in sociology to see what happens through January, February, March, when tensions are at their highest. People are inside. It's not really great weather to go outside. Cabin fever setting in, and we get some really bizarre shit around here. No, if you've never measured that and never around here, you should do that this year, and kind of on the scope. You can put yourself like a bar here and a bar here, and see where that line goes to, and that bar goes back and forth on the ideas of crazy. Well, cabin fever is a real thing, and but we can measure this, like, if we just give men a break and just like no saying really matriarchal things at men during this time of year, and let's see if it has a positive impact. And don't call them cucks, don't talk about illegitimate fathers. It's like, let's not do all this garbage, and see if it has a positive impact on men for the next few months. Let's see if the suicide rate drops off after the holidays, because we are coming up to that time now where and you wonder why. They wonder why the suicide rate for men peaks from this day, probably from the 2nd, I think it was, through Christmas and up through New Year's Day, and then it peaks somewhere between New Year's and because men just can't take it no more. Men just can't take about everything that's thrown on them. Their letdowns, their inability to deal with the world, the way the world is. I bought her a red Corvette and she wanted a purple one. Jesus, I'm such a shithole. Bam, but it's tragic, and we look at the social schemes, and we can't put those together in our head. Why it drives men absolutely 100% crazy from the time we're kids, and we get saturated by these ridiculous cartoons that have nothing to do with reality and everything to do with social programming, and the narrative's always bad dad and cuck dad, and if you're the super cuck dad, which you just move in with the baby mama, and you're like, oh, hit that, and you're super cool. No, you're a super ass if you believe that narrative, that Hollywood narrative. I mean, there are some, and we get the other end. They refuse to stick up for morality. I mean, the Christians and that's why I'm so moderately in the middle on this thing, because I don't know which way to go. I'm so confused. On one end, you got the Christians that just refuse to stick up for manlyhood, and they refuse to stick up for morality and say, hey, and those guys are supposed to be the guys doing the job, the cuck-servatives, but they're cucking all over the place. They want their perfect angel during the day, and their prostitute during the night to do all sorts of weird things in their dungeon, in their sex dungeons. But and then it reflects on everything they are during the day. We see this in Mgtow too. I always thought it was the analogy. Being a Mgtow doesn't make you a good person. And I see this weirdness, and I got that a lot on my Alex Brown is around again, and you know him as I can't remember his name. If you look back on my last video, he makes a few rude comments on there, and he's probably in here now, and he's going to make a few rude comments, but he thinks this thing is about men. Automatically, if you become a Mgtow, that makes you a good person. And we see this with some of the characters we see around here that I attack sometimes. The morality and the ethics are kind of waning, and they're a little short on that, but everybody's like, he's a Mgtow, we forgive him. And then we do the same thing. It's that same thing we do with women. It's like, they're women, we forgive them. Being a Mgtow doesn't make you a moral person, unless you involve some ideology of ethics, like the monks' ideology of ethics. And that's what they're complaining about. You monks, you got this ideology of ethics that you put, you hate men. I don't hate men. I hate bad people. And being a Mgtow doesn't automatically make you a good person. It's like, that's ridiculous. It's like, man, if that was true, we could make all the men Mgtow, and this big awakening would come up, and it was like all the men would just be good men, and there would just be like no more horrible things in the world ever happening. Wow, that's delusional. That's like Christmas. No wonder we get ourselves in ideological troubles and we start telling fairy tales. Yeah, I've seen Sunrise Hoodie. He's a decent guy, and he has some Christian beliefs and everything. But I haven't seen Thomas Lundy. I haven't seen it. I'll look and see if he makes a video. I probably have seen it, but I saw after about 12, 13, 14, you know how it is. I can't distinguish one video from another anymore. I've watched so many Mgtow videos. Yo, I'm getting blackmailed by some girl. Roommate, sorry about that, Duke Gill. Don't get blackmailed. Don't get blackmailed. But I can't help with that. Help you with that in your real life. Just don't do it. Thomas Lundy is good. Okay, I'll check that out, you guys. Give me a great suggestion. And but I wish that sometimes I wish that we get these far righters. And they always take that Christian mentality, and somewhere in every one of their rants, I don't know if you watch Gayle Schwartz or what is that other guy with just something Hammer or in a way Hot Musket, and in the Looney Tunes, these Looney Tunes of the Christian rights, or the Sarah Palins of the Christian right, and in this alt-right thing that they have, and they always interweave Jesus in there somehow. And it's most of the time, for a guy like me, it's at the most impractical time when you need a leap of faith and you need a jump of logic. A jump of logic and a leap of faith are the same things, where you're here, and you get stuck with your ideology. So you need that leap of logic to the next level. It's like, bam, Jesus. And that always kills me. It's like, couldn't you put that together better? Couldn't you just, man, weave that a little bit tighter? But that drives me nuts. And if you guys haven't watched her yet, Gayle Schwartz, you got to go watch Gayle Schwartz over at, I'll put it the thing in a low bar later. And she's just hysterical. I think me and a couple of guys think she's a natural. Ooh, I almost split what's his name's head. Yeah, we think she's a national treasure because she's so just weird. She's a Facebook personality. Yeah, Christians most of the time are just straight up trad cons, and you know how much I hate using the redundant phrase of trad con, but sometimes you have to double down on a tautology like that. I mean, you're a traditional conservative. And Joel used to do that great when he would double down on it, and he would say it loudly when he goes, Joel, remember Joel the preacher, when he would say homosexual, he would go, homosexuals. Me and my buddy, we used to get a beer on Sunday morning, and sit down on the couch, and we would just wait for him to do that, because it was the funniest thing in the whole world when he'd elevate his voice like that. And it's like, we used to just laugh and point. And that's a lot like being Mgtows. A lot of times you watch these crazy people all over the internet, and that's what we complain about a lot. And a lot of our videos about this, these crazy people all over the internet, like Tucker, and you got Gayle and Tucker and Hot Musket and the guy with the Nazi sign. Remember the guy with the Nazi sign? He's on the back wall. And then we got some of them still in here. We got some of the guys that used the Nazi signs, and they're hardcore alt-right individuals. And if you just go look at their Gab accounts, you would go, oh my God. And I do suggest that for you, a lot of these guys. Some of these guys that come around and they start slinging around that alt-right, just go look at their Gab account. And you'll see a whole different side of their personality. It's like Nazism and Jesus all meshed into one globular ball ideology of sickness. And it always cracks me up, because we have these people, and that's a lot of the problem, is white nationalism today. On the other side, I think we have black nationalism today, and they do the same thing. It's Jesus wants us to do this, and it's like, I don't really, and as much as I look at that book as an ideological avenue for ethics. Believe me, these people should too. Just look at that book, because that's the only philosophy they have. And please go read your book if that's the only philosophy you have. And if you don't believe in that, please replace that philosophy with another philosophy of ethics somewhere. You can get it from Plato, the Hobbes, to Jung, to Foucault, anywhere between there. And that kind of covers the whole thing, besides that crazy guy that lives over in right over in France now, but I don't think he's a real philosopher. He just makes real stunning, truthful points. And there's a difference. We got Nazis in here. Holy crap. Yeah, we got Nazis in here. We do. We got the guys that like to use the Nazi symbols, and I always take exception to them, and then, try to run them out. And that one cat, he got really mad at me, and then he never made another video again. And I was so happy about that, but he'll pop up, and he's the guy with the Tourette's problem. He goes, he starts yelling. He'll just go off, and it's like, boom. boom, he's yelling into the microphone. And as entertaining as that sounds, it's like, it gets kind of old when you put it with the Christian Nazi philosophy of, but that's what we get. All sorts of different garbage just piled on us from the conservative right to the far liberal left, and with all these Nazis running around with the alt-right. We got the Proud Boys, which is really it's my thing. When you look at just look and see if their brand is Mgtow brand. And if it's not Mgtow brand and it's some other brand, then it's not Mgtow. And it's an easy process to go through. But, their brand is hate. And now guys like that hate thing, but not really. Mgtow is not really about that. But we get attached to that. And, man, we should just have a break for men. And that's why it's just, man, just 1 month out of the year, just no more gynocentric, stuff from Hollywood. Make a man movie about cool shit like playing, pool, The Color of Money or something like that, even though that got all gynocentric. And just give us a break for a few minutes so our numb minds can heal, and we can just kind of feel like humans for 1 minute out of the whole year. And they wonder why men snap at a great rate during the holiday seasons. But I think the subjects for Mgtow is always around this time, and the concern for men is always, there will be some of your buddies out there, and each one of us have, 10, 12, 15, 20 buddies that are really playing the traditional game right now, and they're feeling a lot of stress right now. And there is a lot of stress on them, from gifts to child support to new girlfriends, and getting yelled at constantly and being saturated by the media that he's a bad person. And if he doesn't buy a diamond ring for his, these guys, they're going to snap, and we're going to lose a few of them this year. And I think that's Mgtow's concern. I think that's where we can have the greatest impact in society if we just reach out to our buddies and say, hey man, it's going to be okay. And, don't push the Mgtow on him, but don't not be there when he's, drinking in the bar and he's throwing down shots and he's becoming an alcoholic, because he wants the pain just to stop for a minute. He's blue pill, but that's no reason to disregard his pain. And that's where Mgtows like us can do the best work we do. We don't do it here on YouTube. We do our work out in the real world out there when you have a friend in need. And that's where we could do this. But I don't think, man, for the last, I don't know how many years around here, it's all about, it's all about Mgtow's not real. They're going, Mgtow's not real. We're just an ideology. You're not real, man. That's who was that? Was that Kicking Guard, or was that man, the whole world? Or was that like this weird brand of Buddhism? Like, the cup is not real, man. You're not real. Nothing's real. It's just all in the matrix. That's silly shit. No, when I knocked my head on the door this morning, it hurt, and that was really real. I used to have a buddy like that. He was into this Buddha Tao thing, and he was trying to explain to me one day the ideology that they take, and that's exactly what he's like. He's like, Joe, this cup is not real. Just imagine that in your mind, and that makes you not real. I was like, wow, enlightenment. Wow. But I was kind of disappointed in this coffee. It's $24.99 for 8 ounces. 8 ounces of coffee, which ain't a lot. And supposed to be from the central farm on the west end of mountain by a single grower, which I I kind of like, because it doesn't mean some 14-year-old kid is not going to school and he's picking beans. It means that they're okay, and I do my research. But I was a little disappointed. It must have been aged or something. I don't know. It's just not Jamaican the way I know Jamaican blue. Yeah, swine dog. When he gets dragged into court, that's the problem. That's when the reality hit. And I talk about it a lot. The reality hit for me when I get dragged into court, and she's supposed to be the strong, independent girl, and like, go on, do that, man. But why do you need the court? It's like you get dragged to the court, and you go, I was like, well, we're gonna have to take DNA, and we're gonna have to do all this and see if they're my kids. And they're like, no, they're your kids. And then the next two words out of his mouth was the hypocrisy of, no, they're not your kids. You just got to pay for them. They're her kids. And then boom, it was like, you're right. They're not my kids. They're her kids. And they've always been her kids. I can't have babies. It's biologically impossible. Where would I squeeze them out of? It would hurt. Yeah, that's when your reality of Mgtow, and that's like, yeah, that's what Mgtow was talking about. Yeah, the lies in life, straight from science. We get all these lies, and then you start wondering, like, Jesus, where are all the other lies coming from? Well, there's a lot of lies out there, and we got to cut through them. So I think we should start with the month of truth. I mean, December could be like the Mgtow month of truth. We just say real shit. It's got to be truthful. That would drive them nuts. That would drive them absolutely nuts. But they would deny it. We got science deniers. Exactly, Derek. Today they want to explain concepts. We'll just have a concept of like what a dad's supposed to be. And that concept always is like their God, their God, always someone that agrees with them. Concepts are really cool. Intersectionality. We could do that's why I'm intersectionality and off the field arguments. I'm like, wow, we could take all kinds of off the field arguments and make these things into anything we want to make them into. You just got to be witty enough and logistically savvy enough to twist the words in them in just the right way to make it fit your narrative. That's what we see on Huffington Post, and that's what us men get all the time. And it gets old, and I get tired, and I'm sure all of you guys get tired sometimes of the old tired lines from the conservatives and the old tired lines from the religious people and all the old tired garbage or the science denying from the science people. The people that are supposed to be doing the science ain't doing science, biology, and truth and all that stuff. They're not even allowed to say it was the guy that wore the girl t-shirt. That's when, oh man, he wore a girl t-shirt with a naked girl, the scientist that just landed this thing on an asteroid, and he just landed this robot on an asteroid, and all they could say to him is like, man, he's got a patriotic shirt on, and all of his work was like just wiped out, and the human race was just like, we lost. And there's a better science out there. It's the science of Christian originality, something where we're just so sensitive to everybody's views. We're just so sensitive to everybody's views, and we can't offend everybody else. But this month we'll get to hear about Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Santa Claus, and we'll get to watch the whole horror show of what to buy. What to buy. Every one of your friends, you're going to go to work, and you're just going to get to watch that whole horror show of what am I buying my girlfriend for Christmas? There's going to be like one guy that like out there that's going to make you so happy you're going to smile because you're going to go, always dump my girlfriend right before Christmas and right before Thanksgiving and right before Valentine's Day. That way I don't have to buy her a gift, and then I go over there after and apologize. I have a buddy that my son used to do that, and he would tell me, I says, are you bringing your girlfriend over for Christmas, and we'll make some turkey and some ham and shit, and we'll celebrate? And he goes, no, Dad, I always dump my girlfriend right before Christmas, and that way I don't have to buy her anything. And I thought, well, you are my child. And he never puts two and two together, but I'm son, you are my child. But everybody knows one of those kind of guys. And but man, it's a hard time for our blue pill brethren this time of year. They're under a lot of stress, family stress, female stress, suicide stress, thoughts of inequality, and thoughts of shameful thoughts of not being good enough. And that's what Donner was going through, and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. He was like shameful thoughts of his illegitimate son, and Santa Claus was like shaming him and yelling at him about that. Like, get out there. And the coach was like there. And it was the coach Blitzen. I can't remember if the coach was Blitzen. And then most likely culprit for the illegitimate child was him. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to be friends with blue pill people, and it's really hard. It's trying. I've lost a few friendships over the years because the men were just too dogmatic on that thing, and it was like they start prying into my business, and why are you like this, Joe? And they needed to fix me up and change me to even knowing the horrible events that had preceded my life in this life. And it's like, get back on that horse, Joe. We hear the same arguments. The arguments we get out there in the real world are the same arguments we get in here in the YouTube universe of crazy and alt-righters and chills and all sorts of garbage. And everybody hates you. And some, like I said, everybody thinks being a Mgtow makes them the special person. It doesn't make you a special person unless you take up an ideology that goes along with that. And most of these Mgtows are really horrible people. I just swear, being a Mgtow, I get accused of that. You're against man. You're called out that Mgtow guy. And I says, well, I didn't like him. I don't have to like everybody. And I don't have to like everybody. That it would be like going down to a Browns game and I have to like everybody in the stadium just because they had a Brown shirt on. It's like, no, that guy's a dick. I know him. He's a weirdo, and that guy's a dick. And we get that in here too. And just being a Mgtow doesn't make it any, you don't get no special advantage on me. That's what's called gaining leverage. Anytime I see someone try to gain leverage on me and say, I'm a Mgtow, you have to like me. That's like, nah, sorry. That's when I end up in trouble in life, when people start gaining leverage on me. It's like I start trusting people because he comes to me with a Mgtow story. It's like, oh yeah, now I got to like you. You're probably a really great guy that I can hang around with in my real life. No, it doesn't make these people special people. And I think we should remember that sometimes in here. I get that all this week from Alex. Alex is all really mad at me again. He put up an old video again. It's like, yeah. I think it was the one when I called out Immortal for being a shill. And he had this page, Immortal. If you guys didn't know this, Immortal Mgtow had this page where he had the Goku, and he had 100 50 million pictures of Goku, and he's a 36-year-old man that watches Goku, and I can't remember, Dragon Ball Z, and then he had like a picture, and then always like, Mgtow, smash them, and well, this is what we're gonna do, and then 5 pictures down, it would be a picture of B&D bondage of some guy beating a woman, and she's tied up and naked and shit. And he's like, oh man, that's not grooming the kids. It's like, bullshit. You're a pedophile grooming the kids. And Jesus Christ. And then nobody see it. I could put the video back up again if you guys want to see it. And it's like, he claims to this day. And so Alex is still mad at me about calling that bullshit shit out. But Alex is one of those persons, like I said, he thinks that's just because you're a Mgtow, everybody has to believe you're a better person than you really are. No, people are the same out there. Taking the label Mgtow doesn't make you a better person. Taking the ideology of Mgtow monk furthers your virtue. There's a difference. And that's what I always say. I pound this thing in. If you're gonna take Mgtow, you gotta take this with an ideology of virtue, and then move that, and that's what makes you a better person. Especially if you're going to give up the Bible, become an atheist, or just be a skeptic about that stuff, you have to replace these things. And you can't walk around this world with no virtue, no ethics, and no morality. And you have to have some kind of bar for ethics and morality. But they complain about us monks because we've taken a bar of morality and we said these are the things we refuse to do in our life, and I refuse to talk to people about their thing down there. I refuse to talk about mine, and I refuse to tell stories about that. I refuse to answer questions about my sexuality. I refuse to answer questions about what they think I am. That's all detracts from Mgtow. But, these people, like, they're anti-skeptical everything, and anti-skeptical everything. Jesus. They think if they take the label Mgtow, it automatically, you have to believe they're a good person. Nah, not a day in my life. That's how I always got in trouble in life. Someone said, she's a girl, or girls can't do no wrong. She's a good girl. Oh, yeah? Yeah, that's a label. Girl. She's a girl. She got a special label. She's a special angel. And you got to believe that she can't do no wrong. And, that kind of jump in stupidity in my life that's what gets me in trouble every single time I believe that people are okay. No, it's a prove. You got to prove yourself to me. Prove that you're okay. Prove you're a monk. Prove you're there's certain things we don't do, that we don't talk about. We don't share with everybody. I don't do those things. But now we got Mgtow 3.0, where married men can be Mgtows, and actually, that's the funniest thing in the whole world. Married men explaining Mgtow to Mgtows. Son of a bee. Wow. We have veered from the original, and sometimes I'm ashamed to call myself a Mgtow anymore. Especially go out into the rest of the YouTube, and I try to interact normally with people, and then and it's like there's always the incel questions, or the dolly diddler questions, or what am I doing with that down there questions, and it's like, that's none of your business. Can I be a normal guy and just have a Mgtow philosophy and be single? And no, Joe, you can't. Because so many other Mgtows has fucked it up for all of us, and we all have to live with that now. But yeah, that's funny. I don't know what you call that. I'll look it up this week at some time, because it'll stress me out if I don't find some exact words for just because you're in a good group doesn't mean you're good. And hence you have to accept everything. It's like that's how the alt-right and that what is it, that nationalism and that white nationalism came into Mgtow, is because they said they were Mgtow and we had to accept it. They're good people because they're Mgtow. See how that works? If I'm a good person, I'm an alt-righter. I'm a white nationalist. I'm a Mgtow. And they thought, well, we'll just take the Mgtow, and that's entryism. And we do a lot of videos on entryism and especially political entryism. And that's what they were. They're political white nationalist entryists. And they said, well, I'm Mgtow, and you all got to believe that I'm good. I don't like David Duke either. And, you know, that he's not a good influence for my children, and he's not a good influence for the people that I try to mentor. So why do I have to believe these guys have good qualities and good intentions for you guys? They don't have good intentions. All they want to do is push their fascist philosophy on Mgtow. And then when I go out and back into the place of the real YouTubeosphere and blogosphere, we get that. And then the first thing people always say to me is, aren't you guys a bunch of alt-righters, you Mgtows? And it's become attached to our name. And it's embarrassing. Because whether they like to believe it or not, in their little echo chamber, that 42% of the men out there are moderate Democrats like me. And if we disregard that, then we lose 42% of the men that we could bring into Mgtow. Yeah, that's how much that hurts the Mgtow cause. But I didn't connect I don't think I have any way to connect the start of the video with the end of the video. And I usually come back and kind of land it right on where it means. But I went too far off today, and I can usually do that. I have a skill with that. But I couldn't do that today. Sorry about that, guys. I lost my own narrative somewhere between the chat and the beginning and now. And I can't land it for you. But somewhere in, I hope there was a little piece or bit of wisdom that you can adhere to and bring your Mgtow into a happier, better state through my sarcasm and irony. And that's about all I got today. I'm going to let Dougie out. I had a hamburger earlier, but that was at the football game. Swine dog, that was pathetic with refereeing again, wasn't it? Every time the Browns would make a great play or score, the referees would call it back. And the score should have more been 28-27 at the end if the referees would have, but they gave one to J.W. Bush, Herbert Walker Bush, and he was from Houston, so the NFL, I guess, they gave it to him. Havoc, seriously, yeah. So in the no calls, all the no calls and the holds, that every time we made a good play, they would call us for something, and it was just like bought and paid for another game. But here in Cleveland, we know the difference in football between crucial calls and crucial calls at crucial times. It's like when you get an abundance of crucial calls by referees at crucial times, you start wondering. You go, yeah, this game's fixed. And I know a lot of the NFL doesn't understand that the transparency on that, and most of the people that are anti-NFL and don't watch football, that's what they say. The NFL is fixed. Why would I want to watch a game? Because it's all fixed. The large demographic teams win, and the small demographic teams lose, and there's no good reason for that. If we got this if we got this equality and drafting and stuff like that, and then you look at games like that, and the favorite team, and like today, the George Walker Bush was a resident of Houston, and they couldn't lose. It's like, and the referees made that happen. You look at it, and then the whole football nation is delusional in a state when they say that they think that the NFL doesn't run it right down to every play. It's like it gets, they don't see how that works into the narrative of losing fans. And like I said, it's a lot like Mgtow. It's, you know, you got 50% of the people out there that you could have as fans if you just did it and let it be a competition, human competition between men's without the referees making decisions. And very few things you could actually call. You know, there's very few. If they get in a fight, yeah, that's a penalty. You know, he breaks his freaking neck, that's a penalty or something. But come to my show and I'll be roasting Jordan Peterson. Hey, Mad Shanky, you gonna roast Jordan Peterson? Oh, roasting Jordan Peterson's fun because he's a really smart guy, but sometimes his logic just kind of veers off into more of that traditional conservatism, which just makes it lunacy. And but I think I'm going to wrap this thing up, and I had no way to bring it around from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer to today's pain and suffering for men. But it's all about you, Mgtow, and it's always all about you. Here we try to tell the truth about things, and here we try to see things in a logical state. That's hard. That's hard in a world of, you know, dragons and mysteries and ghosts and lizard people and Jesus riding a dinosaur. And it's hard to, we got all these people and they believe in these things that really aren't real. And they believe them for, I know why they believe them. They believe it to make their lives easy and explain death and truth. But there's no reason to do that anymore in this. I mean, Mgtow is the closest thing you're going to get to real acceptance in this world about the way things really are. And a lot of that acceptance comes from your ideology, your ethics, what you propose as truth. And but a lot of these things come with a harsh reality of what female nature is and what male nature is and how screwed it up as it is in the courts. And you have to take a jump, and you shouldn't believe these people all the time because, you know, they're just lying to make it easy. And it's convenient truths they have, and they're convenient untruths to make them look like truths. But that's what Mgtow is about, sorting through all the garbage. And I think if there is one point I made today, I think just because you're a Mgtow and you take the Mgtow tag, if I see a Nazi sign on your logo on your Gab page, or if I see you watching too much Stephen Mullenux or Stephen Mullicuck and or Black Pigeon Speaks or some of these ideological white nationalists, and I see your whole page filled with that, being a Mgtow doesn't make you a good person, and I don't have to respect you. And no one's going to push that on me like it's some water that I have to drink. And that's it today. We call them as we see them around here. And if they bring that garbage in here, and lately I've been kind of focused on the black nationalism too, because you're not allowed to say that either. Somehow they can't be that, and it's all we want is the white girls because the white girls aren't human. That's what they're saying. That's racism, and pure 100% racism. And that's what that is when you go to a different culture and you say these girls are somehow better over here, they won't do this to you. What you're saying is you're going to bring them that garbage to them, and you're saying these girls aren't human. And and I don't care if it's what nationality, what culture, you're doing a coolie thing. They're not coolies to be used. And if you were a real Mgtow, you'd have a little ethics, a little morality to you. And I can't forgive those people. With that, I'm gonna go get myself something to eat and maybe a salad, a light salad at night. Let Dougie back outside because I know it's driving him crazy being in here, and look at the phone and think about what I'm going to order my kids for Christmas. That's it. That's all I got for you today. And hey, sit on the Mgtow bench, point and laugh. Point and laugh at them. That's the most entertainment you can get out of this, and that's it. So I hope you're all having a great day, and I hope your team won. And heaven is, maybe heaven is where everybody's team wins every time, and everybody's team wins, and there's no losers. I don't know. You guys have a great day, and most of all, thanks for being Mgtow.